Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, no doubt, continues now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for, is it already May 27th? Yeah, May 27th in the year of our Lord 2025. This is Hour 2 of 2. The goal always to protect life, liberty, and property, to promote God, family, and country, and to do so on your radio and the traditions of our founding fathers. We reject revolution unless it's Jesus' revolution. Then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. Without further ado, guest 2 coming on. Man, just star-studded broadcast today. First hour, the good Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org. Second hour, our dear friend Steve Stockman, former Congressman, 2 times, I might add. Welcome back to the broadcast, sir. Uh-oh, am I there, Liz?
I'm there.
Oh, hi. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you for having me on. I guess it was the NSA interfering.
That's what they usually do. They kind of disrupt things on purpose. But we've got a big old celebration. Scott Jenkins, I guess I should say former sheriff, because he lost the election over it. Interesting election tampering, by the way, Steve. I want to get into that a little bit. But a big celebration, though. General Flynn, Roger Stone, Richard Mack. Of course, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and God Almighty was able to protect Sheriff Scott Jenkins from the Biden DOJ. It's a miracle, Steve.
Yeah, it's a miracle that we got a president that's willing to stand up for America and stand up for those that are persecuted. It's really persecution. It's not a prosecution. And everybody's skeptical until they go through it, and then they're shocked at how abusive and really how out of the law that they're operating. They're never held accountable. I know that they have several FBI agents that pleaded guilty to fraud and other crimes, and they all seem to get probation, a slap on the wrist, and they need to be held higher to a higher standard. Not less of a standard. And ironically, that's what it is. When you wrongly go after somebody because of their political beliefs, that undermines our Constitution. And it really undermines the whole premise of freedom. And it's quite alarming. And they're doing it again and again and again.
We hope under President Trump, we hope under the Justice Department, Pam Bondi, and we hope under the FBI, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, we are starting to see a big sea change, though. There's a new headline out about the FBI, and they're starting to relook at several cases. For example, they want to know who brought the cocaine into the White House.
Oh, yeah, right.
At the bottom of they
got 300 cameras up, and you've got Hunter Biden rubbing his nose. I mean, but we don't know who did it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Hunter or the daughter. What was the daughter's name?
Oh, I can't remember, but he showered with her, which is really warped.
Yeah,
you know, if
strange.
Trump had showered with his daughter, it would be nonstop, and they wouldn't let him forget it.
The whole thing is just insanity. There you have it. But they're going to look into that. They're going to look into the pipe bomb issue. I don't know if you know, but there's a $500,000 reward if somebody can kind of put the truth to power on the pipe bomb thing relating to the J6.
Well, how is it that they can find a J6er around the world from a cell phone locator and figure out who it is and all that, but they can't use the cell phone location of that pipe bomber who clearly had a cell phone. He was on there talking. Just match
what
the
about
time
John Doe
stamp.
number 2, though? That was all over the news, and then it just vanished. What's up with that? And that's a pattern. They had that in the Oklahoma City bombing, too. I mean, this is a pattern, right?
Well, it could be, but I mean, I'm more familiar with what they're saying or not saying regarding January 6th and that bomber. I just think it's, I really do think it's probably tied back to Antifa or something like that. There's some reason they're not using the data that's readily available to them. All they got to do is match. He's on the phone. go look at the records who was calling from that cell phone at that time. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not smart. I don't know. Somehow.
Well, here's what I know. This is what I mean by the pattern. Every time when it comes to connecting the dots for a patriot, oh, buddy, they've got you by the short hairs. Whenever it comes to anybody else that they don't want to be caught, somehow they can't connect the dots, right? I mean, it's a pattern. We see this over and over and over.
And when there's a terrorist act, and it's a Muslim, they go, we don't know if it's terrorism, we don't know the cause of it. But if it had a Trump sticker on it right away, they have everything on the guy. They said he went and did this, he done that. So every time I hear somebody say, well, some terrorist act occurs, because we don't know why, and we won't release the name, we won't release the race, and we won't release their manifesto. It's really quite incredible. I mean, there's still manifestos out there that they said they're going to release it and never did. So...
Well, let's look at Jeffrey Epstein to make your point. Jeffrey, Cash Patel, and Dan Bongino both said that he killed himself in his cell. All evidence points to that. I don't know that I agree with them on that, but let's set that aside for a second because it almost doesn't matter. Here's what does matter to me. So Jeffrey's gone. Fine. How he got gone might be a debate for another day. But what about all the different bigwigs that were connected to Jeffrey? How come we haven't followed the money? How come we haven't followed the Lolita Express
or released the
log
tapes
records? How come we haven't prosecuted others? Certainly Jeff wasn't all by himself in this, right?
No, and there's widely reported rather that there was videotapes of some very powerful people, and apparently those powerful people have been successful at keeping the release from occurring. And one of those powerful person was, of course, Bill Gates. And when asked, you can go online and look, when he asked, he smirked, he goes, well, he's dead now, right? I mean, they need to be held accountable. It's not really fair to only prosecute the people that aren't powerful. I mean, that's just wrong. And they need to hold them accountable, but I think they're kind of afraid to release it all. Apparently, that's what it is. You there?
So, Steve, where do we go with this kind of stuff? Can you hear me? Where do we go with this kind of stuff, though? I don't see any real answers for this stuff. Do you? I mean, I don't.
No,
see...
well, I pinned a lot of hope on Pam Bondi and Cash, and I'm a little disappointed. Let me state what I think a Democrat would do if they had those positions. They'd already had a grand jury impaneled. They've already issued 100, 200 subpoenas. And they would have been taking down testimony and grilling everybody that's even come close or walked by, they think. And they did this in my case. In fact, they subpoenaed so many people. They even subpoenaed the guy who worked on my car 10 years ago. And the guy goes, why the count? I said, I have no idea. They were just subpoenaing anybody they thought they could be intimidated or testify in a negative way or come across in a negative way. But in our case, we set up these panels to discuss things, and we really don't set up a grand jury. We got to set up a grand jury and start issuing subpoenas, including some of the ones in the DOJ and the Public Integrity section, which totally abuse their authority. They need to go to jail. It's not. They keep going, well, you shouldn't do retribution. It's not retribution. It's accountability. And we lose the argument when we don't control the language. They control the language all the time. We want to be called pro-life. They call us, anti-choice or something. They never are anti-abortion. They never use the proper terminology. Genital mutilation is now called gender-affirming care. It's Orwellian, and we need to stop it, and we need to start taping these people in jail that are doing it.
Well, with Donald Trump at the helm, with Cash Patel and Dan Bongino and others at the helm, I think we're starting to make a difference on that front. I think we've got a long way to go, and I think we need to keep working on it. But we need a pardon for Steve Stockman. That's, tell me about, where do we go with this? Can we get a pardon for you, do you think? How's that progressing? Because to me, that's the next one I want out of the gate.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I'm just thrilled that they appointed some very good people, and they're getting around to pardons. As I spoke to your audience before, I think Trump should do it every Friday. That's the last thing Christ did on the cross, and was to forgive someone that was convicted. And so I call it Forgiveness Fridays, and I would love to be one of the first ones pardoned on Friday, some Friday. But anyhow, I'm just excited.
I do
about
believe we ought to
your
have
support.
Good Friday and have people pardoned as a routine. That's something we're working on as well, that we want to get with some of these people to make happen. Steve Stockman with me. So we're going to get to the bottom of the cocaine story. We're going to get to the bottom of the story. We'll tell you about it.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
Back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Stockman on your radio. So, Steve, how do we deal with this? I mean, going forward, are we gonna really see accountability on a lot of these things? How far do you think we're gonna get with the Trump administration? Because, man, we've got way more than I thought we would, but not as much as I'm hoping for, right?
But yeah, by the way, I want to take a point of personal privilege here and thank you and your audience for supporting my pardon. And if they want to know more, then go, and there's another guy that needs a pardon, but you go to defendthepatriot.com and also listen to the show and contribute to it. But now getting back to what you're saying is, I still think we need, and I wish we could get more people calling into the congressional office and putting pressure on Pam to start instituting grand juries and issuing subpoenas, because just having a focus group talking about it is not going to get it. We really got to start subpoenaing people and getting them on their record for this corruption. I mean, even the auto pen is alarming. Now there's an admission. It's kind of funny. It's the Democrat reporters who are going, "Oh, we didn't know." But if you listen to this show, you would have known long before Jake Tapper's book that came out. You would have known it. And it's kind of funny.
Well, that's a problem that I have with Jake Tapper's book, Steve. And I just want to kind of get your take on this. This clown literally lied, defended Biden. How does all of a sudden he change his tune, have a book out, just so timely, so perfect to make a bunch of money, going completely against everything that he stood for like 4 years? And guys like me would say, no, Joe Biden doesn't have his mind with him, and he would mock us and manipulate and lie and deceive. And then all of a sudden he comes out with a book saying what we've been saying all along, and he gets the funding and the credit and the mojo out. I mean, it's insanity.
He made money saying that he wasn't mentally handicapped or dementia. and now he's making money because he's uncovered himself. It was a cute Babylon B headline. It says Jake Tapper found out that he was lying.
This is just. Do you think we're going to get a lot more done while Trump's the president? And that's question one. And I really hope we do. And I think it's up to us, we the American people, is kind of why I'm posing the question, because I think if we put a lot of pressure, like we did to get Sheriff Scott Jenkins pardoned, we can get you pardoned and get a lot of other things done. We'll talk about somebody else that needs to be pardoned too here in a few minutes. But all I'm saying is we've got a lot done, but we've got to push for more. So we've got a window of opportunity is what I'm kind of saying.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the clock is running. I was very concerned that the newest thing about Rasmussen, I can't say it, but it's the polling service, which is a Republican polling service. It's not, and they're pretty accurate. They've had a pretty good track record, but for the first time, the generic ballot has turned against us. And I think the problem is Republicans have done a lot, and Trump too, have done a lot of really great things. But we just don't market it the way the Democrats do. You know, they hold press conferences outside near their action, or like they amplify it through emotion. And Republicans I'd call it the slide rule party, because they do it through statistics and numbers, they tell you. But I think they need to be a little bit more appealing to the emotion of America and showing, you know, he's saving Social Security, and yet people portray it totally different. There's illegal aliens getting Social Security.
Well,
fraud.
do you realize they just took 12 million people off the Social Security rolls that were over 120 years old?
It's really the diet I want to know how I can live to over 120. If we could just
and get a check doing it, my friend.
Huh?
And get a check doing it, right?
Yeah, we need exactly. We need Kennedy to figure out what the health plan is for those people over 120 and adopt it. But I don't think they're going to be calling up. But that's amazing. Just think about that. It's 12 million people getting that money. It's millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's saving Social Security because they're no longer paying that. And there wasn't a
and they're attacking
there
Trump and DOGE, and they're attacking Trump and DOGE over it like they've done something wrong.
Yeah. You're taking off crooks. Well, you know, we already know that they sympathize with crooks because they want to get rid of the police. They really want to destroy America, frankly. That's what this is all about. And not cleaning up the Social Security and welfare benefits. Like they're upset now. Our Panhandle Radio, NPR, he was upset because Trump is demanding people that can work to go work in order to get welfare or food stamps. Isn't that outrageous? I just think making people work is horrible. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing there. I think it's wonderful that we put a work requirement on there, but the left is ridiculing it. It's just amazing to me. The average American works so hard to pay their taxes, and then sees NPR upset, which is also government funded, upset because we require that in order to get that tax money, they have to work. And
just imagine that. Now, I don't know if you know, but I have to fund my radio networks that I do and my show and all that. Plus, I have to fund NPR with my tax dollars, so I pay for both.
Well, let me ask you this: do you have a sushi chef like NPR does?
No, and I haven't got a penny from the government for my efforts.
Do you have 32 people per show helping you out?
Do you know how many people are doing this show right now, Steve? You ready? Me, you, and my producer.
That's it. Oh, no. You're not going to get.
And last hour I had Richard Mack with me, so there was 4 of us on the 2-hour show today.
Oh, well, you know what I'm saying. This is horrible. NPR has, on average, like 32 staffers per host. The host right now is making over, well, with benefits, it's $300,000 without benefits, but with benefits, it's almost $700,000. You know, Steve Inskeep makes almost $700,000 with benefits.
Well, if you drop a zero, you're getting close to what I make.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to, you know, why are we funding this stuff? And I think, what is it, 97% or 98% gave the Democrats? And then they had the audacity. By the way, the woman that's head of NPR is also the head of Signal, and Wired Magazine did an expose where Signal's been cooperating with the government for the last 3 or 4 years. And
yeah, I've been telling people not to use Signal and other encrypted
but they're all out there.
applications.
Yeah, the one guy goes, I can't talk to you unless you're talking Signal. I'm going, like, for what? So the FBI gets every conversation. It's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, what people don't understand is when you go to those communications, you think that you're encrypting stuff, but the government has the backdoor, keys to this thing.
Yeah.
And what you're really doing is saying, out of the thousands and millions of conversations that happen constantly, please focus on mine, is what you're really saying.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to do something wrong. But it's kind of funny. People use Signal and they go, well, what are we eating for dinner tonight? I'm going, like, this is really unclassified, You don't have to use that if you're talking one-on-one. And it's amazing, too, as someone that went through trial, I was told, they don't have that, but during the trial they had it. So I think people are unwise to think that.
We found that out when it came to Stewart Rhodes big time. They literally trotted out all those communications and used those against Stewart Rhodes, who I still consider a dear friend, who I'm convinced was innocent, and they literally framed him, as they did to you, as they did to Scott Jenkins, as they've done to Ammon Bundy. I mean, I can keep going, and we're starting to get a lot of people in the wake of this, and every one of these people that gets abused like this ends up becoming a freedom fighter and spends their time standing up for what's right. So hopefully within the Trump administration, we can reach critical mass, because I think we're running out of time and we're getting a lot done. But man, it's such a target-rich environment, Steve. I just don't know how we can get it all done in the time we've got.
Yeah, Sam, your show and your efforts throughout the years, and I know it's been a great sacrifice to you and your family, is really appreciated by us that get targeted. And your voice sometimes is a lonely voice in the woods, but it's not inaccurate. It's very accurate. And I just can't express how gratitude over the years you have really supported us through the trial and through the conviction and then the imprisonment, and then now for the pardon. And I want to make clear, Trump gave me a commutation, but a pardon is needed because I'm still being. Well, Trump fired the guy that was going after me, which I think is great. But he before he left, just right before the election, he filed additional suits against us. So it's now a 12-year process since it started. It's pretty horrible, very expensive, and crushing.
It's very expensive. It's very tough on families. It's out of control government. It's government run amok, folks, and we got to have transparency and accountability and work towards it. And as long as I have breath, I will stand for the sacred cause of liberty and defend those who deserve defense and protection. It is not about retribution. It is about accountability, and it is about transparency. Speaking of Woods, John Woods is his name, right?
Yeah, and I think he's going to. I saw a post by Ed Martin, who's the pardon attorney. Ed
Martin's a hero.
Yes, he is. He's a great guy. He did the Eagle Forum, and his commentary, I wish he would continue it, but I know he can't. But his commentary, I don't know if you ever had his commentary, but he'd do about a 2-minute commentary they would send out. And I asked him one time, I said, who writes for you on those commentaries? I said, they're really good. And he told me, I do. I said, well, you're a good writer. So
he's a great writer.
Yeah, and he's really dedicated Christian. He's a dedicated conservative, just wonderful man.
And we're convinced he gets credit in the pardoning of Sheriff Scott Jenkins. Now we're looking for pardons for John Woods and Steve Stockman and others, ladies and gentlemen. We need Good Friday, as Steve Stockman is so well articulated, to pardon folks that have been abused and persecuted by the Biden administration, by the Biden Justice Department and others. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new life. It's a new opportunity with Trump in office. Is Trump perfect? Far from. Has he done tremendous good? Without a doubt. And we thank him and stand with him in our sacred cause of liberty. Steve Stockman, stay there, my friend. Former Congressman continues in seconds on your radio.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rex Thomason. Wall Street was already flying high this morning. This could help boost it even more. Consumer confidence, measured by the Conference Board, rebounded this month following 5 straight monthly declines. The latest Russian attack on Ukraine could be the last straw for some congressional Republicans demanding the imposition of harsh sanctions on Russia for its devastating drone and missile strikes, the largest such assault of the war so far. We're getting some hints from President Trump that an Iran nuclear deal could soon be announced.
The president sounded upbeat following the latest round of talks between the United States and Iran.
I can tell you the Iran talks have been going very well.
He pointed to real serious progress in negotiations and said he might have something good to report soon.
I really would like to see that happen, and I think there's a good chance that it could happen.
The two countries are discussing how to curb Iran's nuclear program in exchange for lifting some economic sanctions. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The president says the Senate and House leadership have been working together, working to build Republican support for that big, beautiful bill.
John Thune and Mike Johnson have done a fantastic job. They've been working together all the way up, so hopefully that'll be fine.
The president expects the Senate to make some changes to the House bill. Some will be minor, some fairly significant, according to Mr. Trump. Almost 50 people injured, 11 still hospitalized in Liverpool, England.
British police have said an incident in which a minivan hit crowds celebrating Liverpool's soccer victory is not being treated as terrorism. Merseyside police said a 53-year-old man, believed to be the driver, has been arrested, and they're not looking for anyone else.
And that's correspondent Karen Chamis reporting from London. Watching Wall Street, the Dow is up 520 points, the Nasdaq ahead 351. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Mike Gallagher here, host of The Mike Gallagher Show. If you know me, you know I only put my name behind people and companies I trust. When it comes to mortgages, I trust Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. They're not just friends. They've done loans for me, my family. I've seen firsthand how they treat every client like their family. And these days, that personal touch really matters. With the cost of everything up, you might be looking for ways to free up cash. Maybe you're thinking about a cash-out refi or HELOC to finish some home projects, consolidate debt, or just get ahead financially. Fellowship is a full-service, direct lender, not a broker. They cut out the middleman. That means faster decisions, fewer fees, and less stress. Whether you're buying your first home, downsizing, or refinancing to get some breathing room, they'll tailor fit the loan to your life. Get started at fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began, Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At cspoa.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
This is a battle between truth and deceit. A battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Stockman, former congressman, two-time former congressman, I might add, on your radio. Steve works for you, ladies and gentlemen. DefendAPatriot.com. We need a pardon for John Woods and a full pardon for Steve Stockman. He got a commuted sentence, which is a blessing and a half. Thank you, President Trump, for that. But we need to go a step further because harassment continues from these clowns. We need Cash Patel and Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and others to get to the bottom of this for sure. We need a Good Friday every Friday to pardon good, honest Americans that have been abused by the system for sure. They say that the FBI is going to go after Letitia James and her real estate transactions and stuff like that. That's a headline. Steve, what do you say to that?
Is that not amazing? She was prosecuting Trump, and then she's doing way worse than what Trump got accused of. At the same time, she's committing a crime. She's prosecuting Trump. I don't know if don't you think if we present this to Hollywood? Yeah, if we present this to Hollywood, they go, that would never happen. No one's that stupid. And not only that, too, I wonder, she had listed on the application, I guess one of the houses was in Virginia or somewhere else, and she lists that as her home. So when she got elected, is she really the elected official? Because she doesn't live in the state, technically, according to her. She took
well, when you're above the law, Steve, you don't really have to live in the state. None of those requirements really matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's an Amex card. It's called a black card, and I was going to create a Democrat card, and it says Democrats never have to worry about prison because they got their get out of jail card. Don't leave home without it. I mean, it's really you like it. It's kind of cute, isn't it?
It is, but it in a fun, I shouldn't say fun, in a very tongue-in-cheek way, though, it does highlight the problem in a way that people can clearly understand. And that's really the point for people to really get is that, hey, these people are for real. They're literal criminals. And they get caught every day. The problem is none of them go to jail. For example, I mean, I mentioned this Jeffrey Epstein thing. Who connected to Jeff has gone to jail? The only one is his female, whatever her name was, Fixer,
and
whatever.
She had the videos and the list, and they didn't want that to get out. And now she says,
it's protection
I promise
at that
to
point,
destroy
right?
it.
Whatever, her name is Ghislaine Maxwell, right?
Right. And she promised that she will destroy it if she gets let out. I mean, this is so bad. I wish, she was a citizen of France. I don't know why she decided to stay in the United States. She should have known better, but she did. She stayed here. I wish she stayed in France and released it.
Well, the reason she stayed in the United States is because she knows she's getting protection. I mean, on one hand, we think we won because we got her in jail, but the truth is she's winning.
I don't know if she's winning because she's not releasing the documents. I want to see the documents that she's got, all the footage.
Well, that's how she's winning is she's not releasing them, so no one else goes to jail, it seems like. But I think we have enough to connect the dots and stuff to put other people in jail.
But the reason she's not releasing is because her life is threatened and she's in prison. I think if she was in France, she would release it. I would hope, at least. But right now, she's afraid that they're going to do even worse. But she has already, once she got in prison, she says, "I promised to destroy it." But I think she needs to turn it over, and we need to make it public.
Well, even without her documents, though, there's enough stuff to connect to a lot of these people. All you got to do is follow the money.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. It is incredible. It's you know what? It's like the lower people get justice in terms of what the left says. We're going to throw you in jail. But the minute we hold any of those people accountable, they just say, "Oh, it's retribution," and it's not retribution. I want to say it is accountability, and to hear them say it's retribution is not true. And if we don't hold them accountable, just like a child, if you don't punish the child will do it again. The Democrats, if we don't hold them accountable, will be in the same place 4 years from now, unfortunately, if the Democrats take over. And or they eventually will, I think, at one point. And they're going to.
Yeah, and when they do, I'm afraid they're coming for us, though. They
yeah,
tried
they're
to,
not
I
going to
interviewed
mess around.
I interviewed Stuart Rhodes the day before January the 6th. So on January 5th, I had Stuart Rhodes on the program with me, and I had him on because I knew he was going to Washington, D.C. I knew he had a pattern of peacekeeping and helping, protect people who were Trump supporters and everything else. They had been all over the country protecting people, police departments and sheriff's offices and county commissioners all over the country had thanked Stuart Rhodes and the Oath Keepers for the peaceful work they were doing to protect people. And so I had Stuart on the day before, and we kind of said, hey, this could go all bad. And Stuart knew it. They've literally tried to go and push for prosecution for me, saying that I was involved with Stuart Rhodes and therefore I should go to prison too. I mean, this is the kind of stuff they're talking about.
So anybody that even thought about going to January 6th or buying a hamburger 4 miles from that place is a convicted felon. I mean, that's ridiculous.
But I didn't even go there. I wasn't even there. In fact, I encourage people not to go to January the 6th.
Well, isn't it? I'm trying to think. Isn't it the Proud Boys who he wasn't even near D.C. and he got
correct? He wasn't even there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And not that too. They call him a white nationalist, and he's not even white. It's kind of hilarious.
It's just insanity. But you know what? I am white, and I'm proud to be white. Steve?
Well, I don't think you should.
Is that
be
okay to say?
of being white. Yeah, I don't think.
No, God made me that way. I'm really proud of it.
I tell one friend, we're traveling South Africa, and they said, "You're not a black man." He thought he was a black guy. The guy goes, "You're not black. You're white." And I go, "Oh no, you're part of the oppressor." But but the thing is that labels like that, where they're dividing people. My dad taught me racism was horrible, and I never really saw colors until really the left started. The most racist party is the left, and even their commentary, they go, "We need Mexicans here to do the jobs you won't." So they're still supporting slavery. I mean, they're like, it doesn't stop. And then they said, "Well, we hate that Trump's tearing down our history." They tore down statues, and every one of those statues that I'm aware of, maybe but one or two exceptions, are Democrats. So they're trying to erase their racist history past by tearing down those statues. Those are all Democrats of the statues that they tore down, or most of them. So, and same thing with Kia and Teslas. Aren't most Teslas bought by liberals? And they got liberals keying and scratching, damaging Teslas.
And they're the ones that bought all the cars and built the whole company in the first place. See, I'm not a fan of electric vehicles personally.
Well, I don't have one, so I can't speak to it. But I don't know. Right now, I think the battery life's not long enough, and plus, it takes a lot of toxic materials to create that battery, and it also takes kids in Africa, literally children, to dig up the special cobalt and things like that are lithium.
Well, and to make matters worse, when one of those things catches on fire, I mean, they literally, when cars catch on fire that are EVs, they literally just step back and go, "We can't even put it out. It's so hot, it's so crazy, it burns so long." Yeah.
Yeah, water accelerates the burning. So people don't realize that. People think water puts everything out, but no, certain material like lithium.
Not electric fires.
No. Well, the lithium is what's burning. It really burns hot. And it's really quite dangerous, too. In fact, it's very toxic. But the thing is that I don't understand. I always thought what was a brilliant concept, actually, is the hybrid cars, where you don't have to put a special charger in your house, but it mixes the two technologies, and it really gives you great gas mileage, And but instead, they were slamming down. I think you recall this in California. There's so many, by the way, they're mostly Teslas in California, that they told the people when the wildfires come, "Don't charge your car because we don't have enough electricity to charge your cars." So not only are they denying you your transportation, but you can't even use it in time of crisis. It's
well, and it always reminds me of the joke I used to tell back when they wanted to put grain and create fuel out of grain. I'm like, "You're going to drive around hungry people, And it's the same thing with this electricity thing. While we're cranking up AI, while we're cranking up Bitcoins and mining for digital currency and all this kind of stuff, and while we're cranking up AI, while we're going to add EVs to the mix and stuff, we're throwing everything on the electrical grid, quadrupling our needs going forward. But yet we're getting rid of all the stable sources to fulfill those needs. I mean, it's insanity.
Yeah. China has way surpassed us now in electric. 2.5 times more electricity is produced in China than here. And that's what powers their industry. And you're right. By the way, one of the things that burns more electricity than Bitcoin or the AI, believe it or not, is pot, growing pot, the grow lights. They just came out with a study saying
hydroponic marijuana and stuff.
Yeah, where they use the grow lights and everything. They said it is now in the United States, it's 1% of all the consumption, which is more than.
Wow. But they say Trump's looking into some nuclear solutions for this, and I really support that. I think that we've come a long way in nuclear since the bad old days. We've got nuclear reactors that are tiny. They're easy to maintain. They're easy if something goes wrong to deal with them.
Yeah. It's
and they're
General
water-based,
Atomics.
you said?
They're General Atomics out of California, and it's actually San Diego. And they got these nukes that they call them walkaways because even if you walk away, it does. Yeah, they don't melt down in there. But we've had many nuclear reactors since the 60s. That's what we had, nuclear subs, and they've had very high success rates. And you're right, we would need the infrastructure of the wires and everything if we had set up, reactors everywhere. And they said they're going to do that. I hope it's true. You're right. Trump
and I don't know if you know this, but if you go to the University of Utah, Steve, they've got a low power nuclear reactor or whatever that you can literally watch it run.
Really? I did not know that. That's exciting.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
they
So I'm just saying
developing it for use other than at the university?
Well, that's the hope. We're on the brink of this, but it's so political. It just can't get off the ground. I get that the past disasters are scary, and I understand all that, but we really need to educate the public to where we're beyond that stuff. Is it perfect? No. Is it the best stable opportunity we have going forward? Without a doubt, it's not debatable.
We would already have solved. We're so short electricity, and seeing what China's doing. And it's kind of funny, too, because we've gotten rid of all our coal plants. But China is building more coal, 2 or 3 times more coal plants than we ever had in the United States. And somehow they think if they pollute on their side of the world, it's not going to affect us. It does. And they're building 1 or 2 new plants a week. I mean, it's incredible. Plus, they're doing nuclear power and other sources. We really got to start, especially if Trump wants to bring back all these jobs. And like you mentioned, AI and other things, they're going to take a tremendous amount of energy. And if we're not going to plan for it, what's the old adage? If you aim for nothing, you'll hit it. We got it.
I say burn, frack, drill. Let's embrace nuclear. Let's do it. And let's have a great economy and a great opportunity. Others are doing it, and it will affect us. Speaking of things that'll affect us, I don't know if you know, Donald Trump is working on some nuclear solutions and stuff like that, as far as I understand, going forward. He's also been opening up all kinds of current typical energy solutions as well that's been held off from us by the liberals for quite some time. But it's also turned out now that China, I guess they're saying, hey, they've got a big old COVID problem again. And it's the same new strain of COVID that's hitting China is in the United States now already.
Yeah,
ready for
remember
COVID to crank up, buddy?
By the way, they originally called it Chinese flu, which throughout history we seen that China has shared. I mean, in the 60s, they had a similar Chinese virus. And the thing that's amazing that we knew that China did, which is horrible, is that they barred travel in China, but they encourage people with COVID to get on a plane and spread it throughout the world. And they did that, And
they've done it really with no accountability or scrutiny, right?
No, they don't care. And now they're threatening. They want to take over an entire ocean, and it turns out now they're already drilling. They're setting up, basically, in fact, they're the only country I know that's doing this. They got a deep-seated habitat that's gone really far deep in the ground, and they're going to start drilling into the Earth's crust through the seafloor, which is really, I don't know if it's good or bad, but they're also going to start harvesting gold and silver and things like that in metals from the ocean floor there. And
why would they want gold? Don't they know that fake currency is where it's at, Steve?
Yeah. Well, the problem is they're doing it in the area in which the Philippines declare for themselves. They're bullying everybody, and I really think we have an opportunity to get Vietnam, the Philippines, and Japan all together to make a kind of a NATO thing against China. But they keep building these islands, and they also have 300 tubes in the Gobi Desert, which is a replica, they probably stole it, of the Peacekeeper, which has 10 ICBMs on each warhead. So they're going to have 3,000 new nuclear weapons. So they'll be able to wipe every city that's major in the United States off the face. And then
Trump is supposed to be putting a defense system in place for that now too, right?
Well, he better hurry up, because they're building that in the Gobi Desert, and they're going to have it in about 2-3 years. But plus, they also have killer satellites, which we don't have. Some of the stuff that they're doing, and I also understand they have this aircraft that releases thousands of drones. It's a big aircraft. It's like a mothership, and then as it gets near the target, it releases the drones, which would be overwhelming the system to shoot them down when you have that many drones. It's really they're only
you
reason
might get a few, but a lot of them will get past your defenses.
Yeah. And the only reason in fact, Russia's done that to Ukraine. They used to take months to build them, and now they're building them every week. They're building thousands of them. But this kind of thing that they're building, the Chinese are building, is only for one purpose, which is to destroy America. And it's not self-defense. They're all offensive weapons. And there's only one country
One of the things I think that the FBI and the Justice Department needs to do, or somebody somewhere, we need to dig into those, supposed, no harm balloons they claim that they were for kind of weather or for death. Hey, what did those balloons really contain and flying over the United States, and what surveillance and what connectivity did they get?
It was active.
What happened?
They kind of released a little bit of a report, but it was active surveillance, which Biden officials said it wasn't possible. Well, it turned out that not only was it possible, they got records now because they recovered some of the equipment. And what's shocking was some of the equipment was very highly developed equipment from the United States that was on that balloon.
So they used our equipment against us and surveilled us.
Yeah.
The president lied and said that they didn't. Is Joe going to go to jail?
One could wish, but I don't even know if you put him in jail if he knew he would be in jail. He's pretty far gone, I think, in his mental capacity. I don't know.
And what about this? Are the people around Joe going to go to jail then? Let's say we even let Joe off the hook. Fine. What about all the people around him that used the auto pen and did all this stuff?
Well, that's why they're doing a committee hearing, which I think is a waste of time. Because I've been through those committee hearings. I watched them. It's just a show, and the Democrats then start screaming and hollering. And what we need is a grand jury that's kept it sealed and going after these people and start subpoenaing everybody and get them. The charges, in fact, if you look at the charges in my case and in Trump's case, what Jack Smith did to us, or the public integrity section, which were both in my case, they extrapolate out things, and what they do is they find one thing they charge you with, and then they make up 20 different charges, and they just keep stacking them. And it's really illegal to do that, but they do it all the time. They did to me, they did to Governor, they did to Trump, and it's a methodology that really should be outlawed. It's not criminal enforcement; it's political targeting, and it's really, frankly, very, very bad. And like I said earlier, it undermines the Constitution. And I'd like to tell Jack Smith that Henry VII had a lawyer that did the bidding for Henry VII and did the same thing that Jack Smith did. He went and persecuted people through the law. But when Henry VII died, the people rose up and hung the lawyer that was doing that. So I think people should take heed that now, while they probably won't get hung, but they may hopefully pay for their crimes and go to jail.
Well, and lawfare is what they stack on top of it, too, to make sure that we can never really get to the bottom of it and create accountability and transparency. It's this lawfare that just continues to muddy the waters and drag it on forever and this kind of stuff. And that's something that we need to get a handle on, too. These people should lose their bar licenses and everything else. That's what they want to do to, say, Sidney Powell and others who are standing up for truth, right?
Yeah, in fact, another thing, too, I noticed they do is they always destroy evidence. Hillary hit her hard drives with a hammer or cell phones with a hammer. The J6ers, the committee, said that, it's all horrible, but then they end up destroying all the evidence that they collected because they didn't want it to get out. It's just a constant destruction of evidence. Even the arrogant Comey destroyed evidence and then made copies and then illegally released it to his roommate, and he should be held accountable for that. You can't steal sensitive information that's classified and give it to your roommate. That's exactly what Comey did. And to believe that those shells just appeared as he happened to be walking, he's so arrogant. I can guarantee you he put those where it says 8647. I'll guarantee
they're
you
a threat to Trump for sure.
Yeah, and he's the one that put it on there. I mean, I just happened to be walking down the beach and look. It is. By the way, he gave us a briefing one time, and they refused. It was regarding the Boston bomber. They had so much evidence that was going to occur, and he said, we didn't want to look like we're not homophobic, Islamic phobic. I'm like, you have to protect the nation. That's your primary job. And they basically backed off the investigation, even though Russia and other intel said that these guys are going to do something. And they just didn't investigate because he didn't want to look Islamic phobic. It is absurd. The first priority is protection of the citizens. That's in the Constitution. And yet he can't. His arrogancy and is unbelievable. And I would be nothing. By the way, he wanted Trump to go get arrested and put on an island. And I think that would be fitting for him.
Well, we are building, or we're going to hopefully redo. What's that thing called?
Alcatraz.
Alcatraz, yeah. We got to put him in Alcatraz, right?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that he called that for Trump. But there's so many people don't realize that under Biden and Obama, they hired some of the most leftist people. And I hear our friends like Sean Hannity say it's only the top. No, it's not. The FBI agent that came to my door was a member, surprisingly left it up on our website, was a member of the American Socialist thing in college. Democrat
and if I think it's only the top, I would say this. What about mom going to her local school board then?
Yeah, and they wrote a memo attacking the Catholic Church. I'm not Catholic, but I'm appalled that they thought the Catholic Church was subversive. And they, the thing, too, is Joe Biden took off all the investigators that were investigating child pornography and stuff, and he put them on J6. I would love to see something similar to that, only go after Antifa. Put them in prison.
Not because we want retribution, but we want criminal activity to stop.
Oh, you had hundreds of riots. The what they call the Summer of Peace, and I love the CNN reporters stand in front of a building and a riot behind them. He goes, "It's mostly peaceful."
Things are all burning in the background and stuff.
Yeah. Many more people were injured and killed under their riots. And by the way, I'm still convinced. And if you look at Antifa, and a lot of those people that did some of the major violence never have been held accountable because they're wearing masks. And that is a hallmark of what Antifa does, the way they acted. And the one Antifa guy was walking out saying, we did it, and he got a slap on the wrist.
It's all about the sacred cause of liberty, ladies and gentlemen. We stand for it daily and pray you join us. Steve Stockman, we pray for you and John and others to get a pardon, a full pardon I'm talking, and we'll do our very best to advocate for that as long as we have breath, my friend. Keep us posted on everything that's going on, will you?
Will do, and God bless you, and thank you. Have a great day.
Give your website real quick.
Steve Works For You. It's on X.
Or online at defendapatriot.com. Thank you so much, Steve Stockman, former congressman, doing a phenomenal job. I'm Sam Bushman. This is Liberty Roundtable Live, libertyroundtable.com, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.